Sarah, Miss Massachusetts, thank you so much for being here.
Shannon, thank you for having me. Seriously.
We've been hanging out here for like 45 minutes, just having like so much fun. I have a very good feeling about this episode.
Oh,
but
I know it.
For our listeners who are just kind of getting to know you right now, can you give us a little background on who you are, your background?
Yeah, 100%. So, yes, I am Miss Massachusetts USA. Oh, yeah. For a second, I thought I said Miss USA, but hey, let's manifest it anyways. That's where my brain is at.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I'm for it.
I was born and raised in Massachusetts in Drake, which a lot of people don't know. It's like 45 minutes north of the city. And my parents are Brazilian, so that's a big part of who I am. And even though I was born here, I feel like a massive part of my soul is that's just who I am,
awesome.
you know? And so I truly want to give back to the immigrant community because of everything that I feel like I am is because of them. And so that's kind of what got me to start my podcast, ISM. And throughout this whole pageant process, I've just gained so much confidence in what I want to do with my life and being creative. So I've done art in the past, and I still consider myself an artist because I don't think that just goes away. But obviously, I haven't had a lot of time for that right now. But yeah, now I do interior design, so I have kind of that, like, desk job right now for the most part, and I'm doing interior design consultations for people, which I'm grateful for because I still get to use my creativity every single day, and then also kinda try to get my own clients on the side for, like, small interior design projects, so just
And you're
doing the
still
most.
doing that right now? You're
I'm
still
still
doing
doing that
interior
right
design?
now.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I need some help with this living room.
Oh, I got you.
Do you love it?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. It's funny because when I was little, my mom used to always be redoing and redecorating the house. So I think I got a lot of it from her. But also, a lot of people in my family are just like artists and very
Mhm.
creative souls. So I obviously got a lot of this from them too. But I remember one time my mom knew I was super into interior design. And so she was like, okay, Sarah, set up a plan. Tell me exactly what you want. Like, how do you want your room to be? And I just remember it was like this piece of paper, and I really liked blue and zebra stripes. It was horrible, but I was also probably like 10. And so I just like cut out pictures in magazines and glued them onto this paper, and I showed her this like mood board. And essentially, as interior designers, we still create concept boards. So I was like way ahead of my time, if I must say so myself.
That's awesome. And I love that you love what you do because I
Yeah.
think a huge part of loving your job as an adult is kind of recognizing the things you enjoyed as a kid.
Yes.
So how much do you identify with what you were kind of doing as a child and maybe even in high school and like what you're doing now?
Oh my gosh, everything. It's so crazy because when I was in high school, I feel like the number one thing people ask you is like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And it was so hard for me to think of something because interior design is not a thing, really. It's not like a job that kids aspire to be. And also, like, I was super into art. I was always in the art room, and I'm like, again, artist. If you tell an adult you want to be an artist, they're probably going to look at you like, oh, cool, good for you.
Good
But
luck
there
with
was,
that.
yeah, but there was, honestly, I tried so hard in every other subject, math, social studies, English. I genuinely just wasn't good at it because that's not who I am. And I was trying to force something because society told me that I had to go pursue one of these passions, and it just wasn't me at all. And so I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I went to school for interior design, and then after I graduated, I just kind of jumped right into it, and I started painting on the side too. And my boyfriend is a huge part of giving me the confidence to pursue painting. He's like, you're so good at this, Sarah. Like, just try it, try to sell your stuff and see what happens. And so, yeah. So honestly, like looking back, it's kind of crazy that everything that I loved as a kid, I'm doing it now.
That's so awesome too
Yeah.
that you're like already identified with that. And in addition to being Miss Massachusetts, you're pursuing a career that you actually enjoy and
Hmm.
have this really creative side to you as well.
Yeah.
How has being in the arts and being a creative kind of made you the person you are today?
Ugh. I think I'm just a creative person overall. I think I have a very different way of viewing life and the world, and art has really helped me in many different ways. I was actually a very, very shy kid, and it's funny being Miss Massachusetts USA now, you're like, "Really?" But I was the kid who would, like, hide behind my dad's legs when someone would try to introduce themselves to me, like, very shy, and it actually took me a long time to break out of that, but art was always kinda like my outlet, and I was able to not really express myself through words, but through art, through painting, through that whole creative side of myself, and so it really helped me evolve a lot, which is so crazy.
I love how you mention utilizing art to almost speak for you in a
Yeah.
sense. It's probably done a lot for you mentally that you don't even really recognize. Well, you probably do now, but when you look back on your childhood and what you were
Mhm.
kind of doing, that was probably really helping you express yourself
Yeah.
and when you couldn't with words, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
so amazing and so cool. So you talk about family. Do you have
Mhm.
any siblings?
I do. I'm the oldest of well, there's 3 younger
Yes.
sisters, but I am the oldest. My with me and my mom or how do I explain this? Me and my one of my sisters, who's closest in age to me, have the same mom, and then my 2 youngest sisters, we have the same dad, and they live in Florida, but my sisters are, like, everything to
That's
me.
amazing. So you're really
Like,
close with your family?
yeah, like, genuinely, I'm just so grateful for them, and I know that everything that I do, they really look up to me, and that's a big part of why I follow my dreams and do what I wanna do, and also my parents, like, you have to think they were immigrants. They moved here from Brazil with nothing, and, like, I feel like I have to make them proud, and
Yes.
I
I
everything that I
love
do,
that, and
I
I love
wanna do
talking
that.
about family and how our
Mhm.
family dynamic can shape who we are. I'm also the oldest, so I really identify with kind of
Yeah.
that leadership role, that very dominant character, the
Right.
kinda like, "I'm gonna bring us all to the top," like, "I got
Yes.
you guys, we're gonna do
Yes.
this." I
Yes.
love that mindset that you have. Do you feel
Mhm.
like that's kind of played a part in the way you live your life and your
Mhm.
motivation and your drive?
Oh,
Yeah.
1000%. Yeah, they're my why,
Yeah.
100%.
I love that.
Like, I wanna succeed, but I want my family to succeed more than anything with me. And so,
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's
1000%.
awesome, and your parents were immigrants?
Yeah, so they're both from Brazil, they met here, and yeah, that's just a big part of
It's
who I
amazing.
am. I grew up, eating the food, churrasco. Oh my god, I brought you some Brazilian desserts.
Stop it.
Yeah, they're in my bag. Remind
Oh
me
my god, yes,
afterwards.
I love dessert.
Remind me afterwards, they're amazing, brigadeiro. I
You're so
literally
sweet.
know how to make them so good, they're amazing. But yeah, so just, like, growing up, I would, like, watch TV, and it's, like, the first language that I learned, and so it's just a massive part of who I
That's
am.
amazing, and I love, love, love how you've taken that pride and actually
Mhm.
started to do something with it. Tell me a little bit
Mhm.
about what you've been doing with the podcast.
Yeah, so I actually started ISM, the podcast, which stands for Immigrant Stories Matter. It was kind of during COVID, and I have always said one of my like New Year's resolution goals was to make more of an impact, to give back to my community. And unfortunately, during COVID, everything was closed. I would
Mhm.
reach out to people and be like, "Do you need volunteers for this, or can I help you out with that?" And they're just like, "Sorry, because of COVID, we're not taking new volunteers." And I just kept getting told, "No, no, no." And then I sat down and I was like, "Why am I waiting for someone else to give me an opportunity to do what I wanna do?" And I just had this aha moment, and when you just get that feeling, you're like, "I have to do this?"
Yes.
That's exactly what happened to
Yes.
me. I was just, like, driving in the car, and I literally just thought of ISM. I thought it was, like, the perfect name. It just made sense, and I just ran with it, and so I interview immigrants, sometimes first-generation kids, and we just sit down and talk about their successes, their failures, what was hard for them coming to a new country, what did they learn, and I think it's just so beautiful that I learn something new every single time that I talk to someone. You probably get that feeling
Oh,
too.
1,000,000%.
And I just really want to change the negative stigmas around
Yeah.
immigrants in this country because I feel like we still have such a long way to go. And just sharing their stories is a small way that I feel like I can contribute to making that change.
Do you feel that what you're doing with your podcast and your overall mission with the podcast had a role in what you want to do as your overall goal with Miss Massachusetts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it's really important to stand for something. And I think at the end of the day, we all have things that are extremely important to us in our general lives, but a lot of people just think about them, I want to make a difference here. I want to do something here, but I think taking that action and having the confidence to actually pursue that is something that was really crucial in me winning Miss Mass because um that's just what they wanna see. They want someone who is passionate, they want a woman who knows what she wants to pursue, and also I wanna take ISM and turn it into a nonprofit one day, and so there's still so much to play off of, and
That's
I still have
amazing.
so much room to grow with this. It's
Yes.
still like a little baby, but I'm so excited about it, and hopefully I'll get to continue doing this and make it even bigger if I get to Miss USA,
Oh,
so
absolutely. And
yeah.
something I just want to give a little shout out right now. If there's
Yeah.
any immigrants listening to this podcast right now that really identify with Sarah's
Yeah.
story and would love to come on her podcast and talk to you, I think
Yeah, that
either
would
reach
be
out to me or
amazing.
reach out to Sarah and we'll
Yeah,
definitely make some connections. I love what you're doing. Let me know if there's any way I can
thanks.
support as one podcast to another. I love to
Yeah,
see you crushing it. That's
thanks,
amazing.
girl. Yeah, seriously, that would be amazing. I like, always feel like I'm running out of people.
Yeah, yeah. I bet,
Right?
but there's definitely so many amazing stories out
Oh,
there. So
100%.
so that's so amazing. So you've done so many amazing things before the Miss Massachusetts journey. Take me a little bit through your thought process of I'm gonna go for Miss Mass.
Okay, so it's actually an interesting story because I think people, when they think pageants, they think toddlers and tiaras, and I never had that. I watched Miss Universe as a kid sometimes, but I didn't really know anything about pageants. Like, what's the difference between Miss
Mhm.
USA and Miss America? Like I only learned that now. And so I feel like after graduating college, I just had this horrible feeling of just feeling lost and confused. And, when you think about it, you're a kid all the way up until college, your life is planned out for you. You have to go to school, you have to get good grades, and then you go to college and you're doing the same thing. And then you graduate, and I was just like, oh, is this it?
Can we talk on this a little bit more? Because I think this is
Yeah.
such a great point and something that I just want to highlight through this podcast, through your
hmm
story, is recognizing the programming that no matter what, like no matter what you believe in, if you think that you're
Yeah.
programmed, not programmed, it's a fact that from the moment we're born to even right now, like we are programmed through so many different things. We are set, there's such a standard, there's such an expectation in terms of what we should do even after high school, go to college,
Oh,
get a
yeah.
internship, get
Mhm.
a job. Like how what are your thoughts on that and how have you kind of defied that expectation?
Yeah, always knew that I wasn't gonna go along a normal path. I just knew it. It was something inside of me. I was like, there is so
Yeah.
much more for me than what people are lying out in front of me. And I always knew that it was gonna be a struggle. I didn't know it was gonna be such a struggle, honestly. And like I said, I was just always a creative spirit and I didn't identify with most of the things that people
Mhm.
told me I needed to do. And so it was really hard for me, honestly, because I graduated and I was like, I thought, right? I thought in college, I was like, I'm going for interior design. I'm going to work for a big architecture interior design firm and it's going to be amazing. And then as soon as we graduated, I saw my friends going into these fields and I was like, oh, God, like that is actually the last thing I want right now. Yeah, I'm good at it, but like sitting at a desk all day, like it just didn't sound like me. And so I didn't really know where to go from there because you don't get taught that there are different avenues to life. You don't get taught that being creative is okay, that pursuing a passion in art is okay, that, all these different things. And so I was a server. I worked full time all throughout college. And I was like, I'm just going to continue to serve for a little bit so that I can kind of figure it out. And then I got stuck in that. And literally, I just got to a point where I was like, in a rut, like, so confused. I felt like I wasn't moving. I was so stagnant in my life, and I just needed a push. I needed something, and this is gonna sound crazy, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is the reason I started pageants.
Tell me more, please.
Um, so I was watching this, and if you've never heard it, he gave a motivational speech, and you know how I love that. I was and listening to this speech, he just talks about how his whole life he was just about taking action, and people would tell him he couldn't do something, and he just went back with, okay, because you said I couldn't, now I'm going to do it even more, and I'm going to do it the best. And he just talked about like how little things like his accent would, people were like, because of your accent, you can't be a successful actor. And then he literally gets this role, and the line, I'll be back, someone told him like years later, they were like, the reason that that line is so popular and that there's so much success because of it is because you have an accent. So it's just like all these things that he was talking about, I identified so strongly with. And like, even like modeling, I loved modeling. I did it like for fun, but I'm 5'4", you don't really see that. And so I even like tried to go to these like agencies in Boston when I was younger, and I just got like no after no after no. And same thing with pageants. I was like, oh, even if I wanted to do a pageant, like I'm too short or this and that. And after listening to that, I was like, okay, I'm going to do some research because there's got to be something that I can do. And he actually, in his video, talks about how he went on to do Mr. World, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and got the title of Mr. World. And then from that, just had all these crazy opportunities and did so much good with his title. And I was like, I'm going to look into pageants. And it's just so crazy to think that that was not that long ago.
Yeah. When was that?
That was, so I competed the January before everything shut down.
Okay.
So it was the year right before that I signed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe like 2019, 2018,
Yeah.
2019?
Yeah. 2018 is probably when I like submitted my application. I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then I competed the January 2019, I think.
So you won your first time going for it?
No, I didn't.
This was-
So I won my second time. So my
Okay.
first year I placed top
Yes.
15, which I was like ecstatic.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is my first time. This is so crazy. And then my second year, I got the title,
That's
which was,
amazing.
yeah,
That
even
is
crazier.
So awesome. So you just gave me so much good content to go into right there. But I love how you were in a rut, and instead of staying kind of in that negative place, that negative vibration, which really honestly a lot of people everyone finds easier to do. It's easier to be sad, go lay in bed, feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, all right, well, what can I do about it? And you found something that inspired you, that then got you excited. And then the most important thing that you did was you fucking did something about it.
Yeah.
You executed.
Yeah.
You made it happen, which is just, I know so many people that have the mindset, that know things they want to do, but the execution can be difficult. How did you kind of keep your mindset in, how'd you get it done? How did you just tell yourself that you were just going to make it happen?
I think I have this rule now. Like if I think of doing something, where did I even see this? I think I saw it on TikTok, but it's like the 5-second rule. So if you're just like
Yes.
sitting down and you're like, oh, I really need to, I don't know, go walk the dog. And you think about it and you give yourself 5 seconds and you just get up and do it. That's kind of the same thing
Yeah.
that I do in life.
Right.
If I think about it and I'm like, okay, this is something that I genuinely want to do, like I'm just going to go right now, submit the application before I even tell anyone, before anyone can sway my opinion. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm doing this for me at the end of the day, So I just did it. I just submitted it, and I was like, hey, I'd love to come in for a meeting to talk about this. And we set it up. I got the date. And then after that, that's when I started to tell people.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. So something I want to go into a little bit more is you recognize what you want to do. You set the big goal, right? And then you took the next step, which was submitting the application. But in terms of having this big goal, obviously, the 5-second rule of I'm going to go walk the dog. That's easy. You get up and do it. But achieving the title of Miss Massachusetts, that requires a bunch of more steps. So how did you stay motivated and kind of continue to navigate the road that you had to go down to reach that goal?
So I wish that I could motivate myself 100% of the time, but we're human beings. Like, I need that support system. I need the extra help. And so one of my very good friends, Masha, she's a personal trainer. She's incredible. And so she believed in me since day one. And she was like, look, I want to help you. We're going to do this together. And so huge shout out to her because she truly helped me physically. But then I also needed like the actual pageant prep because I've never done anything like this in my entire life. And so I started working with KP Consulting, who is Kate Parent, Julia Scaparati, and now Kelly O'Grady, who was Miss Mass as well. And these women all just like took me under their wing. And it was just like the mental confidence that I needed. Of course, I practiced my walk and they helped me with wardrobe and all these things like interview. But at the end of the day, like the mental confidence that they gave me is just unmatched. And like I truly can't thank them enough for helping me prep to get to that point.
I love that. You really talk on the importance of the environment you put yourself in for success. You know, a mindset can really only get you so far. Believing in yourself is always the first step.
Yeah.
Who's going to believe that you can do something if you don't?
Exactly.
How are you going to get what you want if you don't even know what you want? That's step one always.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. It's more than that. It's creating an environment for success. It's surrounding yourself with people who are doing things that you want to do.
Yes.
You wouldn't learn how to be Miss Massachusetts from Arnold Schwarzenegger. You would learn from these women who were Miss Massachusetts.
Who have been there. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And I find that have it be on TikTok or just from content in general. Obviously, books are great, but a lot of people help you recognize the first step of the mindset with manifesting, which is so important. But the next steps are just as important. Getting it done is just as important. I feel like the environment you put yourself in really contributes to that.
Oh, yeah.
Who are you learning from? You know, who are you surrounding yourself with? Who's supporting you? Who's supporting your mindset? Who's teaching you things that you need to learn to achieve this goal?
Oh, yeah.
And that's so important. And I feel like that's your obvious next step.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. And you just touched upon like manifesting, which let's jump into
Let's do it. Let's dive right in, baby.
Because people ask me like, oh, what's the biggest difference between the year you didn't win and then the year that you won?
Yeah.
So my first year, it was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like I was literally lost. Like placing in top 15 was like, wow, this is incredible.
Right.
I'm so happy with
You
this.
almost didn't even believe that you could achieve that.
Right.
But your obvious
wild.
natural gifts got you there.
Yeah. After I stepped off of that stage, though, I was like, okay, wait. I actually really want this. And I'm going to do everything in my power to get to that point next year. And I think, I still prepped. And I'll say that I worked a little harder and I practiced more questions and I hit the gym harder and ate healthier. But I think that the number one thing that changed was my mindset. And the second year, I genuinely did not give myself an option to think of anything other than me winning. And it's going to sound crazy, but throughout the year of prepping towards Miss Massachusetts USA, multiple people would be like, okay, so next summer, like, let's make plans. Let's go here. Or, oh, what are you doing for this month? And I would always say, I would love to, but Miss Massachusetts is coming up and I plan on winning. And I don't know what my life is going to be like after that.
There you fucking go.
Every time. And I just legitimately did not give my brain any other option. And I'm kind of going into Miss USA the same way.
What do you mean kind of?
I am. Yeah, 100%. I am. I like genuinely. And so whoever wins Miss USA moves to LA, which is sick because I've always wanted to go there and like even live there.
Yeah.
And I look at my boyfriend and I'm like, you're ready, right? You're ready to go because it's coming up. Like, prepare yourself. And just like the way that I go about it, I just think that when you manifest what you want, when you genuinely believe that something is possible and you keep putting that out there into the universe will conspire to give you what you want.
How do you deal with negative thoughts that come in? How do you, so say, for example, a thought comes in
Mhm.
like, oh, if I don't win, like maybe I'll do this. Like, what do you do with that kind of thought?
We're human.
Right.
And everyone's gonna get those thoughts 100%. Like, I've had those thoughts multiple times, but it's what you do with the thought that counts. And so I think for me, it's like, okay, I understand that I'm having this thought, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna dwell on the thought. I'm going to instead shift my mindset to see a different outcome and focus on that outcome instead. And it's hard, and you really have to train your mind to get to the point where you're able to do that, but it's crucial. It's crucial in all of the success in your life.
Phenomenal answer. Phenomenal answer. Like that
Thanks.
was perfectly said. And I asked that not to be like, oh, well, what if? But
Mhm.
I think people need to recognize that it's
Yeah.
normal to have this thoughts of, oh, but like you're really gonna go for that goal and like you're really gonna believe it that way.
Yeah,
You
we're
sure should you be?
human.
Exactly. At
Yeah.
the all that matters though is recognize it, say, hi, I'm all set on that thought. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna focus on this one instead.
Yes,
I'm gonna
yes.
focus on this one instead.
Yeah, I actually recently started working with a life coach. He's amazing. Jackie, if you're watching this. He just helps me prep mentally a lot because I think, especially once you get to that atmosphere at Miss USA, it can really mess with some girls and like lead to their own ultimate destruction even after you've worked so hard. And so one thing is like I've worked hard already. I worked hard for Miss Massachusetts. I'm working hard for Miss USA. My body is great. I know I'm going to crush interview. It's like what's the next step? And for me I wanted to be as mentally prepared as possible. So that's why I started talking to him, and that's one thing that he actually taught me. He was like, "Sarah, at the end of the day, you're gonna have these negative thoughts. Like comparing yourself to other girls, we're girls. It's natural, it's gonna happen, but it's what you do with that thought
Mm-hmm.
that is either gonna make or break you. And so I'm like so grateful for that because I've been implementing it into my everyday life and it just makes the biggest difference.
The more you focus on the positive, the more positive you will get.
Yep.
And that includes taking a negative and recognizing the positive in it.
Yeah.
And that's literally the key to continue to flow into this positivity. And that's really when the universe does open you up to so many beautiful, amazing
Mhm.
things. I
Mhm.
truly believe in that.
Me too.
So, have you set any goals through this experience? Obviously, Miss Massachusetts, there's a certain look. There's
Mhm.
a certain way you have to speak. How have
Mhm.
you utilized mindset to kind of shape yourself into this person that you want to be on that stage?
I think, well, first of all, I think it's really important to say that despite your title or whatever goal that you're aspiring to be, always be yourself. Like don't shapeshift yourself to be what you think people want you to be. So, like going into Miss Massachusetts, I had to continuously remind myself, like, that way of speaking, that way of being, like, it might be what you think the judges or people want to see you be as Miss Massachusetts, but I have to always remind myself to I'm myself at the end of the day too. And that's one thing that I actually want to change. Like I'm like goofy and I'm not this like pageant patty
Right.
kind of girl. And so I really want people to see that too. But I think that just always having that mindset of confidence and utilizing all of the tools that I've learned, different books that I've read, and they've all just been crucial to who I am and who I want to be on that stage.
And it always comes down to almost the most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah.
Your most confident self will
Mhm.
very likely be your most authentic self.
Yeah,
Anytime you're trying to
it's
put
true.
yourself in a certain box, anytime you're trying to act like someone else,
Mhm.
that might be what you think they want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be authentic and it's
No.
not going to be true
No.
confidence.
And I truly believe that the judges see that.
Right.
I do.
So let's talk a little bit about the actual Miss Massachusetts pageant itself, because I know
Mhm.
that was a pretty crazy experience. I don't know if like I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to know this or if people know
No.
this or what, but can you tell like, a little bit about what happened with the top 5?
Yeah, let's go into this. So, funny story. So I get picked for top
Oh,
15.
hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I look back and I think it's funny now.
Now,
Yeah.
yes.
So I get picked for top 15. I'm like, okay, great, amazing. Then we go ahead and we walk in swim again and we walk in gown. And then after that, from the top 15, they choose a top 5. And they pick the first girl, the second, the third, the fourth. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. They saved the best for last. Like, don't call me. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I'll admit it, like, I wasn't good. I wasn't good after that because I feel like it was my second year. I worked so much harder. I even if I didn't win, I at least wanted to be in that next step, like make top 5 so that I would have I don't know, so I would feel better about competing again next year. And so it sucked, whatever. So I go, it's like we're in the Lowell Auditorium. It's like pretty huge. So they're like, you can go watch the show with the rest of the girls. And I'm like all the way up top on the balcony now, like watching the girls. And one of my really good friends, Luara, who was actually first runner up, she was like answering her question. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be good now. Like, enough with the tears. Like, I'm gonna root for her. And I honestly think that that was like a test. Like, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I genuinely believe that God was like, I want to see how you're going to use the situation. Are you going to let it destroy you, or because you lost, how are you going to take this? You know, like what kind of person are you going to become? Anyways, Lori, who's our director, she's like apparently was like running all over the place looking for me, and I just hear someone open the door and be like, "Sarah DeSouza, where is Sarah DeSouza?" And I was like, right here, like, what's going on?" And she was like, "Don't freak out, everything is fine, but you need to be on stage right now. Like, you're supposed to be in the top 5. There was a mistake." And I was like, am I getting punked? Am I getting punked right now? And so I'm like in my tippy top heels, which I don't know if you've ever seen pageant tippy top heels. They're like this tall. I'm like running down the stairs, holding on to her. She's like, you need to be on there right now answering your question. And I literally had like 1 second. I like stood behind the stage. I took a deep breath. I composed myself and I just got out there and I put that smile on my face and I was like, okay, I'm back. Like, whoa. And
Oh.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, first thing I want to say is that's amazing. Congratulations for
Thanks.
recognizing that as a test because
Mhm.
have it be as big of a moment like that
Mhm.
or a simple argument in a grocery store, every moment that we encounter in some way, shape, or form, a way we can learn.
It
It's a
is.
challenge, it's a place for us to
Mhm.
grow. So,
Mhm.
say you took that same experience and fucking freaked out, right? Like,
Right.
cried.
Wiped all my makeup off, like, ripped my gown off. Like, what would have happened?
What would have happened? You would
Yeah.
have been a mess on that stage.
Yeah.
And you would have looked back and been like, if I held myself together, if I was this higher version of myself, of course you need to take a moment to let yourself feel the emotions,
Yeah.
but not letting it consume you is so
Exactly.
powerful. So
Exactly.
powerful.
Yeah.
And since you also didn't let yourself completely become a mess, you
Mhm.
were able to go out there with so much more confidence.
Yes.
So that probably lit a fire under your ass
Oh my
once you got
god,
back on
yeah.
that stage as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
What was the question they asked you when you got out there?
Okay, so the crazy part is, so it's like a bowl and they have 5 questions in there, but they already asked all 5 questions to the other girls. And so he was like, okay, so I'm just going to ask you a question that we were going to ask at the main pageant next weekend. And so everything is meant to be because he ended up asking me a question on whether I think social media is essentially like a good or a bad thing. And I feel like that was just like, that just set me up because it was just a perfect opportunity for me to talk about how social media can be used for good or for bad. And then I like segued into like ISM, the podcast, and immigration and my platform. And it was just like, perfect. Like, it could not have been a more perfect question for me, and I wouldn't have gotten that question if that didn't happen.
And when you look at that question, right, is
Mhm.
social media good or bad?
Mhm.
When you look at anything,
Mhm.
anything, it can be
Mhm.
good or bad. I read something recently and it was about
Mhm.
this farmer, right? And he gets this horse and it's this beautiful horse. And he's a farmer, so he like
Mhm.
just hit the jackpot, right? He got
Yeah.
this awesome horse. And then all of a sudden, that horse attracts another beautiful horse. And the man has two horses. And the neighbor says to him, "Oh my gosh, you have two horses. That's amazing. Like, you must be so excited." And he says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?"
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the horse like kicks his son in the face or something crazy like that. The son's fine, but injured, right? And
Yeah.
then the same neighbor's like, "Oh, that stinks. Like, that's so awful." The farmer goes, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?" After that, there's some sort of war draft. And since his son is injured, he doesn't have to be a part of the draft. And
Oh
the
my
neighbor says to him
gosh.
again, "Wow, that's the best thing that must ever happen to you. Your son doesn't have to go off to war." And he says, "Good thing, bad thing, who knows?"
Mhm.
And it seems like from social media, to
Mhm.
bring it back to that original question, can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Mhm.
That opportunity that you had by not being in the top 5 and having that experience, good thing, bad thing,
Who
who
knows?
knows?
That's
Because
so
you
true.
weren't picked in the original top 5.
Mhm.
Immediately, your mind could have been like, "This is a bad, bad thing.
Mhm.
I'm so upset." You could have dug into the bad.
Mhm.
Instead, you got yourself together and you dug into the good. Let me root for my friend.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're being brought back on stage with this whole new gratitude for being in the top
Oh,
5.
yeah. Whole new
This
gratitude.
question that you probably wouldn't have gotten if you were picked in the top 5.
Mhm.
And from there, you win.
Yeah.
It's amazing how things can
Isn't
work
that
out that way.
insane?
It's amazing how things can work out that
Oh
way.
my gosh, I know.
And it's
Just
it's not a coincidence, and it's not a, "Oh, like, that was some good luck," or no, like, it
no.
happened to you for a reason, and a lot
Yeah.
of it comes down to the mindset you had going into this,
Mhm.
but also the mindset you had during it.
Yeah,
How are you
100%.
gonna take that mindset to win Miss USA?
Doing the exact same thing,
Yes.
like taking the good with the bad and vice versa. And just, I, one thing that I've always, always said, and I will continue to say, is that everything happens for a reason. And so if you genuinely believe that, I think that there is no situation that can only be bad, because you have to believe that even though it seems bad in the moment, it could be good for you in the future. And so, we're there for a full week, like anything can happen. I think the number one thing is to just stay calm, be myself, have fun, not take things too seriously. And that's really all I can do. Like, I've put in the work, I've done the prep for all of this time. Like, at this point, like, it's God's hands. Like, it is what it is.
It's so funny because when I was prepping for this podcast, one of my questions for you was going to be, "How is your mental health?"
Mhm.
And from my perspective, I would assume it's really, really awesome considering you have such an awesome mindset.
Thanks.
But I'm so curious how you stay present with how busy you are.
It's hard. It's definitely very hard, and I have to, like, reel myself in sometimes, because I do get, like, extremely overwhelmed. Because working full time and then I'm still Miss Massachusetts USA while I'm prepping for Miss USA, so I still have, like, my responsibilities in that way, and then I still have to prep for Miss USA, and I have a boyfriend, I have friends, I have family, and so it's very hard, and it can definitely be very overwhelming, but I think just being grateful is the number one thing. I was talking to my coach the other day, and she's like, "Sarah, I remember this time for me of when I was prepping for Miss USA, and I was so extremely busy, and I would get overwhelmed and frustrated. And I had to remind myself, like, wow, how lucky am I to be doing all of this? How lucky am I to be this busy?" Because after Miss USA, when I came back home and I didn't have any of that anymore, I missed it. And so I think that's really the number one thing, is just, like, mentally to just remind myself to be in the moment, to be grateful for the present moment. So even in the mornings now, I've been like, instead of like waking up with anxiety, like I need to check my phone, what do I have to do today? I think I just like lay there and I'm just like, I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for the job that I have. And I'm grateful for being overwhelmed, because it means that I'm achieving my goals. So,
And how has that mindset shift kind of changed how you operate through your day?
um, I've even been trying to like meditate more, which helps a lot of being more present, and it helps a lot with just like stress and anxiety as a whole. I think just it teaches you to appreciate every single moment, and it just reminds us that the thing that you're stressing about, it's probably not even that important. Like, you're in a month from now, this thing that's, like, overwhelming you today, it's not even gonna matter.
Exactly. I love the mindset of who fucking cares?
Mhm.
Who fucking cares? Like obviously, and that this is good thing, bad thing, who knows,
Yeah,
right? There's
yeah.
my boyfriend loves saying it's zeros or ones, right? Like it both exist. Who
Mhm.
fucking cares? Like I fucking care, but like identifying with that is
Mhm.
so freeing at
Yeah.
the end of the day. Because
Mhm.
whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, whatever you think, like how it's gonna affect other people, nobody really fucking cares. At the end of the day,
No.
we all die. None of this
I
matters, but it
know.
does at the same time.
I know.
It does at the same time. And I love that it's so funny that you mentioned what you're doing in the mornings because I was literally just about to ask what your morning routine is.
Oh,
So
that's so funny.
when you lay in bed and you kind of start
Mhm.
your day with some gratitude, then do you get up and immediately start your day or do you have any certain routines that you implement?
That was actually, one of my New Year's resolutions was to create a more of a morning routine for myself. So, I actually have been, like, pretty successful. Of course, we all have those days where we're just like, "Yeah, no, not gonna happen today," but, I just like to wake up, have that moment of gratitude, whether it's just, like, sitting in bed for a little bit and, like, thinking about my day, or getting up and meditating. That helps a lot. And then I'll typically just go straight to the gym, work out for about an hour, come home, shower. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day, like oatmeal with protein. It sounds gross, but it's so good. And make sure that I'm hydrated. I always drink like about a quart, like what is it, like a liter of water
Mhm.
in the morning before I leave. Make my coffee, get ready, and then I'm like get on my phone and start to like
Perfect. I
progress
love
with
that
the
for you.
day.
I
Yeah.
find that so important. I've talked about this same subject with a bunch of different people on the podcast, specifically everyone on the podcast has kind of done something cool. I bring on people who I find interesting in some way, shape, or form, have
Mhm.
succeeded in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of people really identify with that morning routine
Yeah.
and making that time for yourself. Because when
Mhm.
you wake up in the morning, the chemicals in your brain are at certain levels that they're not at for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Specifically, I believe it's your serotonin, your dopamine, and I don't know this exactly, but you
Mhm.
get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you wake up and you immediately check that phone,
Mhm.
you get hit with all these dopamine hits from notifications, texts, calls, alerts, Twitter, social media,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Versus if you utilize that mind power to manifest, to express gratitude, to set some affirmations for yourself,
Mhm.
it really allows things to lock in so then you
Yeah.
can go perform for the rest of the day. You really
Yeah.
set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
And obviously as Miss Massachusetts, it's probably hard to create like a whole hour, 2 hours, whatever you might be able to do when you're not this busy.
Mhm.
But I love that you're still implementing that time for yourself because you're expressing the importance of mindset towards winning and to achieving your goals.
Yeah.
Making the time for mindset is going to be just as important as making time for the gym, as
It
making time
is.
for practicing your walk and your answer. So I love that you're making time for yourself. Is that usually how you practice manifesting? Is it in the morning? Is it journaling? Or is it more something you just do mentally?
Yeah, so I feel like kind of all of the above.
Yeah.
Meditation 100% helps a lot with manifesting, and also journaling at night, writing down what I want, how my day was, lessons that I've learned throughout the day, how I can become better from them. And just doing these things helps a lot with just like your everyday manifestations. And, like, if you do it so much, honestly, that sometimes I'm just in the car and I just start like saying things out loud and I'm just like, this is going to happen. Like when I was like Miss Massachusetts USA weekend, I did it so much in my head. It was crazy. Like Julia Scaparati was our choreographer that weekend, and sometimes she would just be like, "Guys, think about it. Like the next Miss Massachusetts USA is in this room right now. Like one of you guys will be going to Miss USA." And in my head, I would just be like, "Yeah, me." It's
Amazing. And
crazy,
isn't
but
it awesome how you were essentially trained to think that way at this point?
mhm,
I love the
mhm,
concept of we're not our thoughts, right? You
mhm.
know that. Come on, that's like step one.
Right.
I talked about that on a podcast episode a couple weeks ago. But essentially, all we're trying to do to get our goals is to train our thoughts to think in a way that gets us to achieve those goals, right? So
Yep.
what manifesting is, what writing these things down is, what just constantly saying this does is you literally believe it to the point that you start responding in this way. So I
Mhm.
bet you didn't even have to think to respond that way when Julia
No.
said that because you trained your mind to think that way.
Oh, yeah.
And as you thought that way, your confidence grows, what your actions change. It's
Mhm.
amazing the power of manifesting. So I
Yeah.
love how you are such a clear example of I was thinking this way and then when Julia said the Miss Massachusetts is in this room, I said, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
I love how you thought that way.
But, like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Yeah, look at me. These are the thoughts I have all the time. I'm so perfect." Because there are so many moments where I
Of
would
course.
compare myself to other people or be like, "Oh, man, like, can I actually do this?" A big example of that is, like I was telling you earlier, I was never like, I'm so thankful to be Miss Massachusetts USA, but that was never the end goal. Like, I wanna be Miss USA, and, like, even sometimes saying, like, "Oh, I wanna be Miss Universe," sounds so like, it sounds like a level that I could never achieve, but when I have those thoughts, I just have to be like, "Why not? Why am I thinking that? I could, though." And I change my thought right away, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, Sarah, you could be the next Miss Universe." Because if I don't think like that, I've already lost. I'm going to Miss USA, and I've already lost. And so it's crazy. It really is just training your brain.
It's training it. And my boyfriend and I had a really cool conversation recently where we talk about our thoughts, right? And
Mhm.
essentially there's two of us that can use this thought. Not even us, but there's two voices that can almost use this tool that is our thoughts. It's
Mhm.
our ego and it is our higher selves. It is our higher selves that's really hard to tap into sometimes because it's the ego has kind of gotten us to this point in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, shapes, and forms. The ego is going to be the one saying, "Oh, you really think you can do that? Oh, but
Mhm.
what about her? Like she's prettier than you. Her
Mhm.
hair's better. Her butt's better. Her stomach's better. Her
Yep.
walk's stronger."
Yep.
The ego's always going to be doing that because as humans, our ego is what kept us alive. Oh, like
Right.
they have a stronger shelter. Like, I need to make my shelter stronger so it can survive the storm, right?
Mhm.
Comparison is really essential to the human experience because it keeps us alive.
Yeah.
It allows us to grow and be these humans that evolve and change and get better. But
Mhm.
it's also important to recognize when to turn off that survival mode in a
Yeah.
sense and recognize the power that we have in our thoughts as well. Because, yeah, the ego can say these things, but so
Mhm.
can we. And I love how you're able to recognize that kind of thought and be like, all right, I see you.
Yeah.
And then turn around. Because I think a lot of people think when it comes to a positive mindset, oh, you should never have these negative thoughts. And then what happens
Impossible.
then, right? You get a negative thought and then you feel bad about it because
You feel bad about it.
you feel
Yeah.
like you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
You feel like you're on the wrong path. And then what are you doing? You're just feeding more negative thoughts. It's all a
100%.
game. Life is just a big video game. It's like
Yeah, basically.
how can I just continue to
We're
level
just in
up?
the Matrix.
We are, but it's a matter of what matrix do you want to live in? This really
Yeah.
scary one where everything sucks and oh,
Mhm.
COVID was so difficult and I have no opportunities and I can't
Mhm.
fulfill my dreams because I didn't have that major. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Fuck that. You can do
seriously.
whatever you want to as long as you believe you can.
Yeah.
As long as you believe you
Preach it,
can.
sister.
Yes,
Yes,
I love it.
100%.
You're inspiring me so much, and I love the people I get to meet on this podcast, and I love that because I have a background in journalism and communications and on-air reporting,
Mhm.
and mainly the kind of conversations I would have 5-6 minutes with
Mhm.
whomever, and
Mhm.
say this was that kind of conversation, it'd be like, "Oh, how excited are you for Miss USA? What messages do you want to share with the world, and who are you doing this for?"
Mhm.
Good questions, right? But
Right,
the
right.
real why, the real
Yeah.
deep mindset stuff, I find to be the most important kind of conversations we can
Mhm.
have. Because whatever we want to do, we can do.
Right.
Whatever we want to do, we
It's
can do.
so true.
And it's so exciting and it's so freeing. And
Mhm.
I love that you are sharing that side of your mindset and this experience. Have you been having a lot of
Thanks.
fun?
I have.
Life
100%.
is really fun,
It
isn't
is
it?
fun.
And
You
it's
just have to remind yourself to have fun sometimes.
oh,
It's really not that
absolutely.
hard.
Because it's as much as we identify with this higher version of ourselves, the Miss USA version of ourselves, the Miss
Mhm.
Universe version of ourselves, we
Mhm.
also need to identify with the 8-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 18-year-old that would be like, holy shit, look at you now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think about that
Yeah.
sometimes because it's so easy to, like, and it's crazy because I am Miss Massachusetts USA, and I, like, can't even believe saying it sometimes, but, yeah, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, am I doing enough?" You know, like, should I be doing this?" Like, I'm hard on myself, and I feel like if I'm not busy 24/7, that I'm not doing enough or being enough, and I constantly have to remind myself that, "Sarah, take a moment, take a step back, like, look where you are." Like, little shy 8-year-old Sarah would be dying right now looking at how far you've come. And I think that's just so important to do sometimes because we can all be so hard on ourselves and we do forget to have fun like we stop enjoying the present moment. And it's so important to just be like, okay, no, I need to take this moment and just be proud of myself because I'm killing it. You're killing it. We're all killing it. And we can't compare our successes and our timing to anyone else's because it's completely different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very, very well said. It all comes down to balance. It all
Mhm.
comes down to recognizing where the scale needs to be evened out just a little
Mhm.
bit. Motivation is
Mhm.
important and drive is important, but if you're filling your entire schedule and you're feeling really motivated and like you're killing your whole schedule, but you're exhausted and you're
Right.
anxious
Right.
and you're not making time for things that really matter for you, you're not
Mhm.
going to perform the way you want to at those
No.
things. You're not.
No.
So it all comes down to balance. That
Yeah.
balance of gratitude for how far you've come with
Mhm.
excitement for what's next.
Yeah.
And I love your whole journey because it's a great physical example of here you are, Miss Mass. It's interesting too because you become Miss Mass and immediately know what the next mission is.
Mhm.
Like think of Tom Brady, right? He wins the Super Bowl and he gets to celebrate winning the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, he's thinking about the next one, but realistically, like he gets to celebrate that. He gets to go on the duck boat
Right,
tours or whatever he
right.
does in Florida now. Enjoy that. And
Yeah.
it's interesting your experience because you immediately go into, all right, let's
Mhm.
do this next thing.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's you try to enjoy it at first and then you quickly become so consumed because you realize that you want the next step so badly. I'm sure it's different for everyone, but at least for me that's kind of how it was. I was like, okay, the prep is not turning off, no days off. Because when you want something bad enough, it doesn't even feel like a job anymore. Like my prep it's just so natural to me. It's like who I am at this point because my goal is so clear, my vision is so clear of what I want that I'll do anything to get there. It's crazy.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I have so much I want to talk to you about, but I also feel like this is
Thanks.
such a
I
phenomenal
know.
place to end things on.
Uh,
So before we really close things up,
mhm.
I love this question. I love asking people that I'm connecting on a deeper level with this question.
Mhm.
What do you think your purpose is?
I think my purpose is oh, genuinely to make the people around me who make me happy, happy. And I think there is such a beautiful thing with giving back to the people who have made you who you are. And I think that that just ties around every single thing that I do in my life, like doing ISM the podcast. It's really giving back to a community that's shaped me as a person. It's it's a giving back to my parents who have sacrificed so much to give me the opportunities that I have today. And so and I genuinely am one of those people who like I truly feel other people's emotions as my own. So, like my sisters, for example, they're everything to me. Like their happiness almost sometimes feels like my own happiness. Like seeing them succeed, seeing them be happy, seeing them be healthy, like it makes me feel the same way. It's
Do you
crazy.
identify as an empath?
Probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I feel that very
Yeah,
strongly myself
definitely.
as well. It's a very powerful thing to feel, but it's also important to
Mhm.
recognize that
Yeah.
as we feel other people's happiness, it's important to recognize that we're also going to feel their sadness and their
Oh, yeah.
struggles.
Oh,
So
yeah.
kind of identifying, all right, what emotions are actually my own?
Mhm.
Because the happier we can be and the
Mhm.
happier we make ourselves and the more that we do what's best for us,
Mhm.
the more happy we are and the
Mhm.
more we're able to give back to others.
That's
And
very
which is
true.
I love how things come full circle.
Yeah.
You say you want to be able to give back to the people who have given to you. That is
Mhm.
incredibly full circle.
Mhm.
And the more you make yourself a better person, the more
Mhm.
you expand your awareness, the more
Mhm.
opportunities you present in your life, and the more you go for your goals, the more you're gonna be able to do for other people. So
Yeah, so
I love
true.
that because a lot of people's purposes, I think everyone's purposes end up having to do with other people. We all want to, as human beings, we want to help other people. We want to make the world a
Mhm.
better place. We want to raise the vibration of the world.
Mhm.
But in the same sense, we can only do that by working within.
So true. I love that.
It's
Wow.
it's really
Wow.
cool because I've talked
Yeah.
to a lot of people about this exact question just
Right.
through observing their answers and how
Mhm.
they respond, as well as a lot of self-reflection on myself.
Mhm.
It's really amazing because you really don't have to choose. Oh, do I want to help other people or do I want to make myself happy? Like it's like
It's
no,
like,
helping other people will make
yeah.
you happy, and
Yeah.
making yourself
And
happy
vice
will allow
versa.
yourself to help other people.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
a beautiful thing. It's really, really awesome. I absolutely love talking to you.
Oh my
I'm
God,
going to
Shannon,
be
thank you.
rooting for you so hard on the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I cannot wait to watch you. I cannot wait to watch you win and
Thanks.
continue to
Oh my
watch all the
gosh.
amazing things that you do. I cannot tell you what an inspiration you have been for me
Aw,
today.
thank
And I'm
you.
sure for all our listeners as well. I'm really looking forward to like just hanging out with you more
I know, you too.
too.
Seriously, like I don't even want the conversation
I
to
know,
end.
I
It's
know.
been
You want to hang
so
out?
good. Okay, yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate your time. I know
Oh
how
my God,
busy
of
you are. I have
course.
much gratitude for you being here.
Thanks for having me,
Nothing
seriously.
but love and appreciation, sister.
Love ya.
That was
Thanks.
wonderful.